I'm Beth Guckenberger, and this is the Reckless Faith Podcast. Here I am back with Rob Hall, friend and colleague at Back to Back Ministries. Thanks for being with us.
Beth,
Yes?
we're on to day 13 today.
I know.
We are crushing it.
I know.
I hope the people who are on this bonus material, listen to the podcast, I hope they're encouraged. They're feeling, a new depth and invigoration to what they're about.
Absolutely. That's the whole point. And I think this day in particular, I purposely put it at this point in the journey because it's about expanding your frame, about opening up your box, about realizing that maybe everything that you've experienced isn't all there is yet to experience. And I hope that sets people up for the 27 days to go.
You tell a pretty amazing supernatural story. If people haven't read it yet, it's pretty amazing. They should definitely read it. But you have a line in here after kind of all this stuff happens, and the result of this supernatural thing is, I now think literally anything is possible. People can reconcile, bodies can heal, doors can open. I don't know why or how or when, but I know we can hope and I know we can believe. That's pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, I think that it felt really controllable and easier for me to have a faith that I understood the edges of. Like, this is what God does, and this is what He doesn't do, and this is what we're supposed to do, and we're not supposed to do, and this is how we're supposed to ask, and this is supposed to if it was like, and this particular story just kind of blew the walls off of my faith. Like, okay, well, I don't actually know all of the boundaries, and I know what I know, and I'm going to live what I know, but I'm going to be open to God teaching me new things, and I'm going to ask Him for things that might seem like impossibilities. And so that means I'm going to ask, like I have a friend who was going through a really difficult circumstance with her husband, and man, everyone around just had already declared defeat. And stories like what happened that I recorded in day 13, they just teach you, like, there is no end. Like, there's nothing He can't resurrect. There's nothing He can't turn around. There's nothing He can't heal. And so, do I know how and why and when and where? And I don't. I definitely don't. But I'm comfortable with the questions that I still have, and it doesn't stop me from asking the Lord and believing. If you want to do it, I'm here for it.
So this is a supernatural story, but the one that you just started talking to us about was someone's marriage, right? So that how did this lesson about nothing is impossible, that resonates with me. I don't know that the story on day 13, like, oh my gosh, that's never happened to me. But people who would give the advice like, hey, your marriage is over, just go ahead and be done with it. Tell me more, like, how does that go together?
There was a song, it's been recorded by lots of artists, but there's a song I found this year, recorded by Michael W. Smith, called "This Is How We Fight Our Battles." Yeah. And it talks about how that we fight our battles with praise, and we declare and thank God for victory that maybe hasn't even happened yet, but we have the anticipation of what God is going to still do, and not in a like I can move a hand of God that He wasn't going to move in the first place. Not in any way in an earthly controlling. But I can remember when I was praying for my friend and her marriage that was suffering, I began to say, okay, this is how I'm going to fight this battle. Like, I'm gonna praise You for being in the story. I'm going to praise You for what we're learning in the story. I'm going to praise You for what's coming in the story. And that role of praise, I'm not sure we can overstate it. Like that song and that biblical truth it represented, we can take that into broken bodies, broken relationships, broken dreams. Like, no matter what feels like it's over and down, like we just don't know.
So, reckless faith, 40 days to saying yes, right? So a lot of the stories that I read about in the devotional, a lot of in your other books, is sometimes it's difficult for me to see, like, wow, I got to go do that thing far away for, something crazy to be reckless. What really strikes me about this bonus material today, about this story, is this is my neighbor. These are my friends, might even be my family, who are going through a difficult marriage or something difficult. You can be just as reckless, saying, hey, listen, we are not giving up on this thing. We are going to be reckless and believe. We're going to say yes to the reconciliation of a marriage, and that's reckless too.
And I talk about in day 13 about the principal player in my story was someone that no one would have suspected was going to be a principal player, like physically. And I think sometimes we count ourselves out. We're like, oh, I can't say that to them because I'm not a pastor or I'm not like a professional Christian or I still have doubts and questions and fears myself. And it's like, my gosh, God will use anyone at any time with an open heart and a bold mouth to declare his goodness. And for me, it was a man named Jose Angel, but for someone in your life, it very well could be and should be you.
Yeah. Today's action is find a picture, either a personal picture or even just a picture online that represents something miraculous to you. Could be a baby or something in nature, could be the face of someone who has been healed. Frame it and place it somewhere. It will serve as a reminder that God still moves.
Yeah, I kind of cheated on this day because Todd has a picture already hanging above his desk that I spent the day looking at, but it's a picture of a young family, a husband and a wife and their little baby, and the mother in that young family, Todd and I had known since she was a little girl. She grew up in one of the children's homes, and she left the back-to-back life and our programming and took a path that was scary and dark and outside of what we would have wanted for her. And it was like, okay, well, I know what the rest of those chapters are going to look like. And we could have given up or given in and felt defeated. And God used a bunch of people in her life to return her back into fellowship. And she got pregnant and eventually did end up marrying that baby's father. And today they have this crazy testimony of how the windy journey God had them on to come back and to be a family of faith. And I look at them and they are a picture of a miracle to me. And they're not a body that was broken and came back to life, but they're a soul that was lost and that came back home.
Yeah. Well, get out there, folks. Find a photo, do whatever's necessary. This is a simple one, but that depth that you can get just from that visual reminder really can prompt you to some really deep reflection on today.
Anything is possible.
Yes. Hey, if you have Reckless Faith, a 40-day journey to saying yes, we hope that this podcast keeps you focused on having meaningful conversations with God and with others. If you're here and haven't yet gotten a copy, what's wrong with you? Come on, people. If you haven't gotten a copy, you can find it on Amazon, or for the book and other resources, you can visit back2back.org/40 days. That's BACK, the number 2, back.org/40 days.
Oh, I just want to thank you for being on this journey towards a more reckless faith. And until next time.